My name is David Goggins. I created Goggins. Goggins is the guy that can take anything you put in front of him.
Man, just feel lucky to see him in action and see him change from David to Goggins.
Right.
And it
right.
And
it's
it
like
happened.
He becomes the Hulk.
Oh my God, it happened. I watched it, and it's like, I thought, well, maybe this was just kind of like a, whatever, maybe just a thing, but it was real. It's like when shit got hard, he got into this different zone, and it was like he got better. He got better, got
Really?
tougher. Yeah, he did. When he gets to Goggins, dude, look out. It's like it's a different person that's unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
I had a learning disability. I was stuttering. I was battling so much shit that I never even told my mom about. My dad made me very afraid because he beat the shit out of me every time I went at him. I gained 125 pounds. I went from 175 to almost 300. 297 was my heaviest. I worked myself so hard that I turned a person this fucked up into this motherfucker right here.
This is a gentleman who completed Navy SEAL training, Army Ranger training, Air Force TAC-P training. I believe he's the only person in history to do that.
Yes, sir.
This is a guy who did 3 Hell Weeks, 60 plus ultramarathons, ran with broken bones for 30 miles to get into one of the mega ultramarathons. And a lot of people calling him the toughest man alive.
You are a guy that, for a lot of people, you sort of embody the idea of hardening your mind and figuring out a way to do things that most people think are impossible. You've sort of become that guy over your life, and you've become that guy for a lot of people, including me, online. We've talked about you on the podcast a ton of times. So having you in here has been it's very exciting to me.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
How'd you become that guy?
In that dark room is who you are. But in that dark room is where you have to create another human being that walks out of that dark room to face who you are. That's the only way you're gonna get over all those things. You have to create someone else. It started off with the Rocky and Rambo movies.
Right.
You know, those were kind of like my fathers when I was coming up. But then when I finally met this guy named Scott Guerin, this guy that fell off it, you know, he had a parachute accident. A guy crashed through his parachute and he fell 13,000 feet, pretty much to his death because his parachute collapsed and he fell 120 miles an hour to the ground. I mean,
that picture in the book.
It's disgusting, right? And so he hit the ground, and I met him a couple years later at this CAP, Civil Air Patrol camp. And I'm sitting there, and no kid was like amazed by him. You know, it was like, okay, this is a great story. I'm a kid, let's go. I'm sitting there, he comes out, and I was amazed by Rambo. Like at a young guy, like, oh my God, this is the real Rambo. I started following this guy, but he didn't know I was following him. So for a week long, he did push-ups and flutter kicks, and I was like, man, that is the real Rambo. And then this guy was in my mind. We had zero money, man. I went on a $500 phone bill. And back then, dude, and having no money, my mom wanted to kill me. I was in search of Scott Guerin.
Yeah, no Google, no internet.
Google, no nothing.
You're just randomly calling up bases?
Air Force bases, man. Calling up Air Force bases, man. Hey, you know what Scott Guerin? What do you mean? I'm like, who's Scott Guerin? I'm like, he's a pararescue man. A what? Because, you know, a pararescue man, you know, there's not a lot of them. So I started getting, okay, there's a PJ base here, a pararescue base here. So I started tracking down pararescue bases. Finally, Key West, Florida. He's a scuba instructor down there in Key West, Florida. I leave a message. He calls back, gets a hold of my mom. I'm like, I cannot believe this guy called me back. My first question to him was, hey man, can I come stay with you for a week? He's like, who the fuck are you, man? He didn't know who the fuck I was. Right. The guy let me come stay with him for a week. What changed, I watched this Discovery Channel show, Class 224. I was watching these guys going through Hell Week. And these guys ringing the bell, quitting, dropping their helmet down, rolling out. A lot of guys just leaving. And it made me reflect on my fears, my insecurities. And I saw real men, what I thought were real men who were staying, who were overcoming adversity, who were overcoming all these different things that I had blamed so many fucking people in my life, my dad, my mom for not being there, my learning disability, my skin color. And so I sat there for a while and I was like, no one's gonna fucking come to help me. No one's gonna fucking come to help me. It's fucking me against me, period. I had to man up. And I said, the first thing I gotta start doing is facing every fucking fear I have. So that starting point is the truth.
But it starts in that accountability mirror of, if you're fat, you cannot say anything besides that you're fat. If you're lazy, if you're a liar, if you're a cheater, if you're on drugs, if you're whatever you are, you must look in that mirror and be brutally honest with yourself and call yourself out for what you are and what you're not.
And in this nice new world that we live in, we want to hear, you're just a little big. No, man, you might be fat. And it's okay to hear that from yourself. So in that accountability mirror, I call it, I got real with myself. I said, you have a third grade reading level, which is hard to admit when you're a junior in high school that you copied on every single thing you did because of fear they were gonna put me in a special school. We all know what special means. I'm gonna have a title on myself the rest of my life. And being cool, you don't have a title on yourself. So I started cheating. I was dumb. And people say, oh, you know, you have a learning disability. I had a learning disability, but I realized I was lazy. So I called myself out there. I called myself out every which way possible. I didn't call myself out, I was just honest. I was honest. Look at yourself, man. Look at yourself. And it was that day, and a couple of days after that, I just got real with myself. And every day I came home, I called it the accountability mirror. What am I gonna do today to change what I see in this mirror? Self-talk and visualization are the two keys to my success. Is I have the ability to see the end before the beginning even begins. I can see it right now. So before I went to Buds and I was losing all this fucking weight and shit, I saw myself walking across the fucking stage at 191 fucking pounds, 'cause that's what I had to get to get into the door. I saw myself 6 months, a year later, whatever's gonna take me to do it, I saw myself walking across that stage, getting that fucking certificate of graduation from Buds. And I was able to be there at 300 fucking pounds. And that feeling that I was nowhere near that fucking feeling, I was able to put myself there 1,000,000 times every fucking day. And that feeling of like, my God, that is gonna feel fucking amazing. Okay, so I'm able to put myself at the finish line, even though I have no finish line, but at the finish line of an event before I even start the motherfucker to say, how are you gonna feel at the end of this? When I first walked into the Navy SEAL recruiter's office, he looked at me and said, there's only been 35 African Americans in 70 years make it through. You know what I said to myself? What if I can be the 36th? It's the what if I can pull off a fucking miracle. What if I can become someone that no one thinks I can be? And just me talking about that, I have the hair going up on my arms because it makes me just like, what if I can be that guy that people who call nigger and this and that, and now I'm speaking at Tom Ferry's fucking event. What if? That's it. The most important thing is I practice that feeling of accomplishment that I'm gonna have when it's all said and done with. Each thing that is wrong with you has to be a focal point. You can't look at this gigantic list and say, I gotta change all this shit. My God, this is crazy. No. You take off the first one, I wanna be smarter. For me, that was my thing. I have to become more intelligent. I have such a severe learning disability, man, I can't retain shit. I had to now get that one thing and then strategize in that one problem. How can I do this? You gotta strategize on each problem you have in life. Slowly break down that problem. Don't think about all the problems you have, just one at a time. And before you know it, you fix all these problems, but you cannot focus on all of them. Just on the one thing at a time. When I was growing up, I was a lazy kid. And everybody goes, how did you get to where you're at today? How did you get to where you're running 200 miles at one time in 39 hours? Being so disciplined. It started off, honestly, with recognizing that my bedroom was dirty. My bed wasn't made. I lived a sloppy life. So I took very small increments in my life. I started making my bed. I started cleaning my room. There were dishes in the sink. It started off with doing small house chores. I saw that the yard needed to be mowed. So instead of being told it needed to be mowed, I would mow it. I started doing things, coming outside of my lazy ways to become better. The reason why we go back to old habits is because our goals are too lofty. We're not achieving our goals fast enough. So what happens is, you know what? Oh man, we're very impatient nowadays. For me, it was good. I didn't have a phone. I was out of this world by myself. It was a race against David Goggins. It wasn't a race against, God, I want to look good for this person or that person. It was me. I got to change myself. So for me, if I lost 5 pounds in a week, I got a feeling. I allowed myself to feel proud of that. I didn't look at, I got to lose 106 pounds. I'm like, man, I went from 297, now I'm 292. In 1 week, man, I'm killing it. We're not proud of ourselves for the small accomplishments. What we need is we need this monstrosity of the thing to happen and say, I did it. Nah, there's a process that you have to go through, and patience is the process. And if we don't have patience, after a week, I haven't lost 30 pounds, man, I'm done. I'm over it. So that's what I found out with people, man. They're not patient enough to realize and to enjoy the moment, not live in it, just enjoy it. There's no finish line in life, but enjoy that moment. Roger that, man, I lost 5. Let me go 10 next week. So that's the whole thing about it. That's how people lose it. Self-talk, for me, has been the biggest thing in my life. A lot of us have a dialogue that is crap. It's a crappy dialogue. What we're telling ourselves is what we see on TV, is what we see on Instagram, is what we see on Facebook. All day long, we are feeding ourselves the wrong self-talk. It's negative self-talk. You have to get all of the noise of all the crap of the world out of your head. Get all the static out before you can even have a real conversation with yourself. You have to create a positive dialogue. So all day long, I'm putting the positive self-talk in my subconscious. I'm making sure that I'm walking around all day long, giving myself the proper fuel to attack the world. That's why I work out hard every day. The first thing in the morning what I do is I clean my room, I clean my house, I go for a run, I work out. I want to win the war in the morning. Because the second I leave my house, the second you look at your phone, the second you turn the TV on, you're in a battle. All this negativity is coming at you. But if you're able to fuel yourself in the morning, win the war in the morning, so you have the strength to face what you're going to face in the world. The world's going to come at you with lefts and rights. You have to have the right kind of mentality. And that starts by not hitting the snooze button. It starts by waking up. No, you don't want to do it, but that gives you the strength because you did it. If you do it, if you do something you don't want to do every morning, you're already giving yourself the proper self-talk. You're already giving yourself the proper dialogue to attack the people that don't like you, to attack your insecurities, to attack what the world's going to give you. So self-talk comes from belief in yourself. If you're giving yourself self-talk, positive self-talk, but you don't believe it, it's not going to come true. You have to put the work behind what you're saying and believe what you're saying to yourself for that self-talk to become a reality in your subconscious. how you become the person you want to be is constantly facing the things that you don't want to face. We live in a world that we want to be as comfortable as we can. And we wonder why we have no growth. The reason I became 297 pounds is because that was comfortable. What was very uncomfortable was running. What was very uncomfortable was being on a diet. What was very uncomfortable was trying to face things that I didn't want to face. So I realized for me to find growth, I had to face all of these different things that made me very, very uncomfortable. It's so easy to be great nowadays because everybody else most people are weak. This is a softened generation. So if you have any mental toughness, any ability, if you have any fraction of self-discipline, the ability to not want to do it but still do it. People have a hard thing to understand. I hate to run. And what makes me so crazy, it doesn't anymore, is people go, well, why do you run if you hate it? What are you talking about? I don't want to take showers and eat either. I hate that too. That's a life, man. It wasn't until I changed that mentality that I became somebody. I hated going to school, so guess what? I was dumb as shit. That's what 1 + 1 is 2. But if you can get through to doing things that you hate to do, on the other side is greatness. In failure and in suffering, all the answers are in there. All the answers to all the test questions. The test is your life. All the answers are in there. You don't have to live in suffering and pain and failure all the time. You have to learn, I need to visit it. Like people hate working out. You're only gonna visit working out maybe an hour a day. 23 other hours of the day, you're not in it. But how you become in shape is you must visit suffering, visit working out 1 hour a day. Visit suffering 1 hour a day. Visit your past failures 1 hour a day. The relationship with it is the answers are in there. Put challenges in front of yourself. When you put a challenge in front of yourself and you attack it, that's when you find inspiration. Try to be 10% better than you were last week. So if you're running 30 miles a week, run 33. If you're swimming 500 meters, swim 550. If some of you aren't doing shit, you're 10%, you're just getting off the fucking couch. The more you walk away from accountability, the weaker you become. Find yourself in the grip of life. You can't find yourself by doing nothing. I was guided by something much more powerful, and I listened. And I chose the path of most resistance. Talent not required.